Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, and it is brought to you by Accuracy in Academia. And for at least half of America, the voting public, it is morning in America. So what a day, what a night, everything like that. Brian, you asked me if how late I stayed up. So several years ago, I don't know, I just because of my gym policy, uh, I just basically I pretty much have a hard stop, anywhere somewhere around 8 o'clock every night, maybe 8:30, some nights,
So
weekends are
like
a little
Biden.
longer. Yeah. Well, I'm getting up there. So and I just basically I just go to bed. I mean, I go to bed. I take a peek at what may be on the board for the election coverage, but if you're going to bed around 8:15, there's going to be very few results at that stage. And frankly, um, even though I felt fairly confident that Trump would win, I think I felt better if I just would go to bed and wake up in the morning and then sort it all out in the morning.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little rough out of that. I was up to almost 4. But yeah, they're sitting there like Wisconsin. He's 200,000 ahead. They have 350,000 to count. So yeah, it's mathematically possible she could win 201,000 out of the remainder 350 or whatever. But that's not, you knew that was not going to happen. If they should have had that streak would have materialized elsewhere, right? So I always think about like we opened this show, right? We've been opening this show for a long time, and we say hello to deplorables, dregs, despicables, garbage, chump, Neanderthal, semi-fascist, maggots, weirdos, dog-faced pony soldiers. And what is that a list of? What are we doing there? That is a list of all the insults they have hurled at us in the last 2 or 3 years. Those are all the names they've given us. Okay, so what do we remember about their treatment of us for those last times? Is their name calling? They don't really have anything. It's just like, you guys are fascist. We don't have to engage your point, whatever it is, whatever complaint you're raising, whatever it is you want government to address or change or whatever, is BS because you're a maggot or you're a dog-faced pony soldier or Neanderthal or whatever, right? And so at the end of the day, Americans said, one of these parties has nothing but a bunch of insults, and one of them is talking about the future. And that's what happened last night.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for reminding me. I dropped the open. Maybe I was just too giddy and kind of distracted by my technical problems.
Today was the
day. Yeah, good. Well, but that dropping the opening like that actually provided that's a good analysis there. Up to because you read those, you say those things every single week basically, and there's a good chance
we keep adding to the list.
Right, we keep adding to the list over time. But you're right. We can create this list, and of things that the insults they have hurled at our side for the last many years, and rather than having you just read it, I'm glad that you got to comment on it. My goof probably actually worked out to the betterment of the whole thing, and everything like that. It kind of shows you who the heck they are. We already have a comment from Bob.
Yeah. That's right. And if you're reading the stuff that they're saying this morning, the rank and file is not ready to change. They just think America made it. It's stunning. America made a mistake. America let us down last night. Like, bro, we're not your trained animals, right? We're not jumping through the hoop you want us to jump through. You got to convince us. That's what this is all about. When you go around trying to convince people by calling them deplorables, dregs, despicables, and that other long list of stuff, not very many people, you're an idiot. Okay, well, now I like you and trust everything you say. That's not how people work.
Yeah. I mean, or I guess we. Yeah, we have garbage is on that list now because we added that in
Garbage.
after
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
president. Garbage threw that in there too. So yeah, I mean, they continue to drop those things off at us. I won't say that Trump is completely innocent of hurling his own level of insult, but it's a little bit different the way the Democrats do this because the Democrats, I mean, let's talk about Michelle Obama, right? I mean, when they go low, we go high. This is not going high.
Yeah, they went low the whole time. Ever
Yeah,
since she said that, it's like, no, they don't.
yeah. So it's just you're a hypocrite, you're a liar or something. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, please explain to me how that actually works when we have this long list of insults your side has hurled at us for the last several years. Okay, this so it's like that is not, as we said, that is not going high. That is going low for
Right.
sure.
The other thing is, if you think about, yeah, Trump throws some insults out too, but who does he insult? Not their voters, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't say you leftist idiots, right? He gives the nicknames to the opponents, to the leaders. He keeps the debate about the leaders, right? They insulted our voters. How do you win people over that your strategy is to insult them?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, look, I mean, during the primaries he had back in the day, I mean, he labeled his own Republican opponents, right? He gave them
Right.
names, Ron DeSanctimonious and all these things. I mean, I don't know who actually really came up with that. I don't know if Trump, somewhere, but they were clever. I mean, they were pretty
Yeah.
clever. I mean,
Will
if you're
Marco, Lion
right,
Ted, we all
right, if you
remember them.
right. I mean, and stuff like that. And the Democrats think they can use it against it. But you're right. Yeah, he's pretty specific. He's targeting the individual and not the supporters. This is where Biden ran into that problem, right? They were trying to dig themselves out of that hole of where he talked about garbage. The supporters are garbage, but he was they claim, well, it's really only like Tony Hinchcliffe. It's not everybody. It's not all the Trump supporters. It's like, sorry, you can't walk that back.
Right.
We can watch that tape a million times, and there's
Yeah.
just you can't
I don't
interpret
see
it
that
out.
apostrophe, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. We can go over and over and over with that, and it's just not happening and everything like that.
Now,
All
I'll tell you
right.
something else too. So when we talked about this at the time, but the debate, right? What was the critique of the debate? She stomped him. She worked him, right? And I said at the time, I'm like, 2 weeks from now, what will people remember of this debate? She dodged questions, and Trump talked about the eating the dogs and the cats, right? And so, yeah, I mean, people were like, oh, well, if they're eating dogs and cats, but the debate was then about what does visiting tens of thousands of immigrants on a Midwestern city mean to that city, right? And which side cares about what challenges that creates, right? And they were like laughing, they laughed about the dogs and cats. Like if you watch the video, of the song the guy made, they don't really show Harris in that song much, but when they do show her, she's like, you silly idiot, you're talking about dogs and cats. It's like the American people went, heck yeah, we're talking about dogs and cats. Heck yeah, we're talking about our towns being taken over by foreigners who don't do what we do, and we can't assimilate.
Yeah, I do want to thank the 71 million plus people who voted and have spared me 4 years minimum of Kamala Harris and her cackle. Okay,
right.
I think that would have driven me insane.
Ain't God good?
Yeah, what was it? Oh yeah, there was somebody I'm friends with on Facebook, and I mean, just one of those things who you don't really know, and I can't remember how I got to be friends with her, but how it's one of those things you've had for years because people friended people early in the day, and she put some comment on Facebook about God and everything about this, and Billy Hallowell, who's a pretty Christian guy, he gets on there. It's like, well, kind of like, didn't God act in this case or something to that effect? So he fired back at her. It's like, yeah, for a lot of believers, it's like, yes, we're very thankful that the way this result turned out. because I think we were really concerned about what the alternative would have been. I mean, I really didn't know what the world would have been like otherwise.
Right, right. We were on the cusp of doing a extremely irresponsible thing. Like this was not a person who was remotely prepared to be president. All right. So you're talking about a presidency of advisors, figuring it all out, people behind the scenes, not really ever getting a usable idea from the top person, being vulnerable to, getting worked by the C's and Putin's and Netanyahu's and the mullahs of Iran of the world. This would have been dangerous. He was dangerously incompetent.
Yeah, I mean, this is a woman. I mean, who's how many days was it from the time that Biden stepped down? Something like 107 maybe to election day, where she did not hold a true press conference, right? She had some interviews and some other little things. She did some one-on-ones, things like that, which she was mostly terrible at. But she didn't really take questions from the press at large, off the cuff, trying to answer questions. So, I think one of the problems here is that the voters were still trying to figure out who is Kamala Harris. What are the policies going to be like? Where was the difference between what Kamala Harris was going to do versus what Joe Biden had done, with economic policy, immigration policy, and things like that. And how many times did she say in interviews that she wouldn't do anything different? She really didn't differentiate herself. She tried to talk about joy, tried to talk about turning the page from 10 years of Trump and things like that. But maybe not everybody wanted to turn the page. I think from Trump per se, I think a lot of people were ready to turn the page from these Democrat policies that have really made a mess of our economy. And I don't know that Donald Trump is going to be the savior of any of this, because these are complicated things. But we know that generally Republican conservative policies are much better for the country economically. They're probably going to take a harder stand, go back to look at what Trump did with immigration and things like that. I think we're going to see some big drastic changes once again, a big U-turn in a lot of these policies. We're not going to have that student debt forgiveness garbage and all of these things. I was thinking this morning, like, one of the biggest beneficiaries, for us too, is that we don't have to deal with those Trump, the Biden cabinet people, Lena Khan, Merrick Garland, Pete Buttigieg. We can go on the list of their cabinet people.
Find actually competent people for those jobs.
Yeah, we're saying bye to them in a little over 2 months, and they will find good people in there. Gary Gensler at the SEC. I mean, what was it? Bitcoin hit 75,000 this morning.
Yeah.
There was this huge surge, and I think Tesla jumped. It was great. Tesla jumped like 15% this morning after the results. I didn't look further in there, but Elon just got a lot richer this morning on paper as a result of Trump's election. Now, whether or not that stays at that level is a whole other case. I was kind of looking at.
I think that Elon believes that the future of Tesla will be brighter when the EV mandate ends. Right. I think that people think, well, he wants the trap force customers, but I think his view of it is to let it organically develop as an industry. It'll get more saturation, and your products will be better.
Yeah, he's in the business. It became much more competitive over the last few years. He hasn't really benefited as much from an EV mandate as people would have thought he would have, because you had everybody piled in, right? Ford and all these guys piled in. Everybody was cutting prices. I mean, Ford is what? They've suspended the Lightning F-150, their electric truck, their big, star product, because they were losing, millions of dollars, like maybe up to $1 billion, I think, over the course of a year, on doing this EV stuff. And other automakers were facing the same problem, is that they all jumped in, but they found that you can't make any money off it. And Elon could still cut prices, and because of his vast enterprise and how he's so smart, he knew how to actually he can still cut prices and make money, and he didn't need the mandate to do that. People want his product, not because of some EV mandate. They want to buy his cars and his Cybertruck because they think it's cool, they like it, they really think it's the best thing on the market, that type of a thing. So he can still outsell his competitors,
Right.
because he's just smart. The guy is just darn smart. As my wife said, she's like she can't wait to see him. If he actually gets put in charge of trying to cut government waste. You know, Not an immediate kind of a thing. You can't. There's so many layers and mechanisms to do so. But I look forward to seeing. Yes, if he is going to head a commission to look at government waste and a lot of other things like this, yeah, and if he can push for it, yeah, this is great. Go ahead. Let's see if we can't do
Yeah.
something about the government. The size and scope of government is far too large. This is Trump's last stand. Let's go for it. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead. Let's go ahead and do something. Right?
Yeah. I think that you've got this the expert, some of the smartest people in the country lined up behind Trump. Right. I have to think that a lot of people looked at this race and like they didn't know what to think. Right. Do we really want to deal with Trump for more years and all this, and tilted his way because they're like all the smart people are not just lining up behind Trump, but they're getting roles. They're saying, we're going to work to make America smart like we are. So I mean, I think a remarkable thing happened, and the potential is enormous, right? Because you now have Elon Musk putting that big brain to work for you, for the U.S. government, for the people. You have Ackman, you have RFK Jr. I don't know where that'll go, but I think that looking at what we eat and how we distribute food and so forth is absolutely something we should be getting involved in.
Yeah,
Making America healthy absolutely is so.
Yeah, I don't know if I want RFK Jr. as a cabinet level person necessarily,
I
but
don't think he's going to be.
yeah, I think advising on issues would be okay with me. I can live with that because he can be kind of out there at times, but I
Mhm.
think there are things that he understands that the American public does not with regard to that. And they're definitely the Make America Healthy Again thing caught on with a lot of people, right?
Sure did.
We had MAGA and we had MAHA, right? So we had a lot of these things going on out
Yeah,
there.
I think a
So
lot of one of the things that they're puzzled about today is they were like, man, the women vote is way ahead of the men vote. We're going to win, right? But they were falling behind as they were saying that. Like the early returns were coming in, and they're like, yeah, it's 58% women. And I'm like, yes, and you're behind. So stop and think. The women, you thought you were going to get close to monolithic support from women, and you are behind, right? So that never clicked to them. The women are not voting for you, right? So I mean, we've talked about this before, but married men overwhelming for Trump, single men a little less overwhelmingly for Trump, married women sort of between the two, single women all over here. Right, so that group, single women don't run the country. They don't. They don't have enough votes to win all the elections, and that's what we found out last time.
yeah, I mean, and I mean, from I'm going to throw religion in here just for a second too, because I find I just scrolled a little bit through my Instagram feed. So a lot of the people I'm associated with are my former missionaries that served here in the last few years. A lot of them still young, they're young girls and the young guys, and it's anecdotal. I didn't sit there and do a tally sheet or whatever, and it's not like I've got 1,000 of them on there that I'm going to go through. But I scrolled through some of the feed this morning just to see what they were putting in their stories and whatnot. Uh, the the girls definitely for Harris more so than Trump, and the guys were all over it. It's like there was Trump picture after Trump picture after Trump picture for that, and this, it's anecdotal. There's nothing scientific behind it at all, but you kind of see that. Now, I did see, I think it was a national exit poll, was it on CBS News or something like that, that had that said 54% of women voted for Harris, 44% for Trump. Now, to me, that's a huge, that's something else. I mean, it's like 44% for Trump overall. I mean, I think they're taking in the whole, every single, part of that, all those demographic groups. But, you know, that to me, I don't think that was supposed to be that way. At least the media had trained me to say that the women were coming out in droves for Harris. She
Right.
had women behind her that, so she was going to clean his clock with the women vote. But according to this exit poll, she didn't get to the level she needed to. She underperformed. I mean, what I saw this morning when I got up and I turned on the TV and was watching some of the reporting was just that, they were looking at 2024 Harris, 2020 Biden, and 2016 thing going on there. So we had each of those races had some anomalies there, and 2020 being the whole pandemic thing was definitely kind of a thing. But Harris was underperforming Biden. Now she probably, she probably would have outperformed Biden. I mean, had Biden stayed in the race, I think Biden would have performed worse than he did 4 years ago. But she couldn't hold the coalitions, a lot of them together, and we're seeing that in the popular vote. Where I thought that she might win, the popular vote, she's behind, right?
Yeah.
And
I
don't think
fairly
I don't think
significantly.
she's not going to get it, right? So Trump is getting both the popular vote and the electoral vote, and so that's which we haven't. When was the last time the Republicans won that? It was what, Bush, right?
Yeah.
2004.
Oh, four.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so this reverses a long trend for the Republicans that they're able to take both, the popular vote and the electoral college vote, and this is a lot about, where was Harris's real support? What did people understand about Harris? I thought maybe, the abortion issue would help her, because it was on the ballot in 10 states, but that doesn't seem to have done enough, right? It wasn't
Really seem to have, it was the biggest issue for about 11 or 12% of the voters. And about 45% of those people are pro-life, So you don't get 12%, you get 7 maybe.
Right. And so I think what we're seeing there too is that some of the states that where they have the abortion issue, they haven't been called as of, I don't know, an hour and a half ago, in terms of who wins, but the theory is that would help put her over the top and do that, but it may wind up
fail some places, right?
Right. It may wind up, Trump may wind up winning Arizona and Nevada, and those are two states that are going to be passing. They passed their abortion restrictions. The whole thing, the freedom of choice kind of thing. They're codifying abortion into their constitution. So I need to throw this in here too.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's
Trump alluded to that last night. He goes, I told Bobby, I'm like, leave the oil alone. Liquid gold, that's up to me.
Yeah, really, seriously. So we see a lot of things. I mean, when you look at how this election has gone, it's going to be interesting once we see what the final results are in the House and the Senate and whatnot. But what Trump did here was nothing short of remarkable.
Oh yeah.
I will. This is a guy that I definitely thought there's no way he was ever going to run and get to nomination. And then we had those series of events that we've talked about, all the indictments and all the court cases and all the stuff. And he used that and leveraged that to his advantage, and he ran right through, the primary, right? And he just wiped up his people.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, I think in the end, I think that's really exactly what happened there. So we have, those things that are happening, and so he comes on and he goes through and he becomes a nominee. It drives the media crazy, it drives the liberals crazy, and then he was obviously ahead of Biden, so we get this historic step back from Joe Biden, the incumbent president, the nominee, basically steps down, and just before the convention, and then he hands the nomination over to Harris, which was already kind of in terms of its that was a little fluky there. And we've got another one here.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's right. So South Texas, people, it's controlled by Democrat Party machine. There's like 8 counties down in the bottom of Texas, all on or near what they call the King Ranch down there. And it's a long time Democrat machine. And in the old days, when Democrats could win elections in Texas, they got into trouble on margins. That's where they went to make it up, right? And the famous Alice, Texas, and LBJ, and all that stuff. So how he beat Coke Stevenson and got into the Senate.
Yeah, I mean that has been they've been suffering a little bit. There have been a few holes in that whole strategy over the last few years. Republicans have come in and taken an election here, election there. Sometimes it flipped right back the next time around, but it's not invincible anymore for the for Republicans.
Right.
Republicans actually have a shot, based on how the districts are drawn and what the candidates are and everything like that, to possibly actually winning seats in areas that were very hard to win seats at before. So it's don't leave any stones unturned on here, and I think that when you look at it too, it's like Trump went all around the country, right? I mean, he went. Going into New York and places like that. I think that probably made some races more competitive. New York was going to be tough to win, but we had some House races that were critical. I think Lawler's won. I think the others are losing, but they could have easily lost everything there. So if you can kind of stanch the bleeding in some of these areas while you pick up in other areas when you flip in other areas, then you can hold your own and maintain your majority. The House thing is going to be, with California, it's going to be a process to wait for those votes to come in and be tabulated before we get a clearer vision of where we're going. I'm relatively optimistic that the Republicans maintain control. Slim margin, but control is control. So I think that works. Yeah, that's all the difference for. But what Trump did, what was it? Just to be a former president, to be president, lose an election, and then come back and win an election, right? Neither you or I were alive. There isn't anybody alive that was alive, right?
Right. That's right.
Back then, the last time this happened. So this is for us. This is a once in a lifetime thing for virtually all of us. Yeah, and it's amazing to see how he did it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what Trump said or did. I think it also goes to show, as we talked about on this program, a lot of the stuff that the media and the liberals, the Democrats are trying to make hay of late in the campaign, the Puerto Rico is island of garbage and anything else that they try to throw out there. A lot of the votes the die had been cast. People already knew who they were going to vote for if they hadn't already voted already, because we had 75 or 80 million votes cast.
Yeah, the polling really did not move much in this election at all. Right. From the time she got in, there was an instability for a week or so there when she got in, and then Trump settled into about a 1.5 to 2 point lead, and it really never changed.
And if who big winners too are anybody who bet in poly market for Trump. If they came in at the right price, they made out like a bandit.
Yeah. They did. They did.
So that's just amazing kind of a thing that we observed. The media's. I guess Fox News was first to call it or something like that. One of the first, but where the others are basically we're holding back a little bit. But you can see, just the remorse, just the whole. The problem. I've got people on a few people on my Facebook page who are they put up they're like it's a sad day and everything else is black, right? And you get these comments and they're all from women for the most part. There's like one guy, but the guys I don't care about him, But this guy was a Republican. He married a Republican. He was. but he was always kind of a thorn in the side of the Republicans locally here for a long time. And then I think he just got fed up with Republicans like some others did. I mean, Trump, Trump, we lost a few Republicans, from 2016, and so he's like, I'm without a party. It's like, no, I mean, you could have a party if you want to, but you just chose not to for whatever reason. And so, they feel that they can pontificate on the fact that they're not, they hate Trump and they didn't really like Harris either, and they're an island, they're just left floating alone and everything like this. Well, hello, you made the choice,
Yep.
to do what you did. So, but it's interesting to see how many people come up and the daughter of a friend of mine. I mean, she was like, it's like, how many narcissists, can be elected? He says, good news is that this is his second and final term. I've got, look, I've got,
So
I've
here's the
got,
thing about the narcissist. Like, I worked on the Hill when Obama was in the Senate. I met Obama. Right? Obama is an unbelievable narcissist. Right? Biden is an unbelievable narcissist. Hillary Clinton, forget about it. Right? So, I'm not saying Trump is not. I'm saying the guys at the highest levels of this, they're not there without a pretty darn good bit of self-regard. Right? I mean, if you have doubts about whether you really are the smartest guy on the block, you're not running for president. I mean, this is an all-in, put yourself out there job.
Yeah, you have to have the confidence you can do this job. This is not a job that you or I probably would do or want to do or have the confidence to do. This is a very hard job. I mean, there's a lot of and we have seen presidents age tremendously, especially when they're in there for 2 terms. It's a lot of work. It's not just collect, a few $100,000 a year and do this. That's the other thing too, right? I assume Trump will probably do the same thing he did before. He'll probably donate his salary, like he did before, and stuff like that. I mean, just a great move, on his part. Right. This is goes. They are right. I mean, Bob, you and you guys definitely agree on this.
Yeah, that's right. It's like they all talk a lot. Yeah, of course they do. That's the job. Right?
It is. It is the job. And so we have, a situation now where, it'll be, Trump's going to get, he's going to get a Senate. He's going to have control of the Senate, which is good.
With about 54, 55 votes, right?
Yeah, right. No, I mean it's probably worked out a little bit better, definitely better than expected on this and everything like that. So okay, so let's take a break. We wrote down the predictions, right?
I've got it right here. I can tell you what it is. So president, we both picked Trump. Virginia, we both picked Harris, which is how it came out. Georgia, we both said Trump. That was accurate. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, the same. You said Casey in Pennsylvania. I said McCormick, and McCormick won, right?
He's ahead.
He's ahead.
The last thing I looked at is that they hadn't called it, but maybe it's going to be one of those things. The race is close. Who knows? There may be, who knows what they're going to do there. But yeah, I'm glad. Look, and I anytime I pick the wrong guy, or at least the Democrat to win, and the Republican wins, I'm happy to be wrong.
You picked Rogers. I picked Slotkin. I think that's the same situation, right? Rogers is ahead.
Yeah, I think Rogers is. I think Rogers is ahead, more ahead on against Slotkin than McCormick is on Casey at this point. But
we both picked Cruz.
I don't know how many votes are you have to be counted.
We both picked Cruz, who won.
And Cruz won by a bigger margin than they were predicting, right?
And more than he beat Beto.
Yeah.
He's getting popular.
Yeah, so I mean, look, he's up. It was like at 53. That's like he's on an upward turn. That's good.
Yeah, probably the shockingest result of the night. It looks like Brown is going to beat Rosen in Nevada.
Oh, I
right?
hadn't seen that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that if that holds up, that's a huge
If that
victory.
holds up, I'm right.
Yeah, yeah, me too. You picked Gallego. I picked late. You were right. I was wrong.
But
She's an
that's
awful
close.
candidate.
That's a close.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was
close
close.
race, though. Much
She's an
closer
awful
than I
candidate.
expected.
Arizona, we both picked Trump. Michigan, we both picked Trump. Wisconsin, I picked Trump, but you picked Harris. So I think it's 2-1 on wrong. I've gotten 2 wrong. We both picked Baldwin, so we both got one wrong there. We both picked Moreno, so we both got that right. We both picked Sheehy and got that right. We both picked Senate. We both picked House. Your EVs were 305. Mine were 312, which I believe is the exact number, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the final number is because, you know, I I'm following
Because
the mainstream.
reasons.
I'm following the mainstream. I'm waiting for the media to call these other things there to be sure. But yeah, we're going to be somewhere in that. We're going to be somewhere right there, right? I have friends that were in the 270s, high 270s, 280s, 290s, and if it gets up there, what did we say? What did you say? 312 or whatever. If it gets up to 312, then I was definitely, then that was that's something. It's that is a mark of a big win.
Yeah.
So
this was a big win.
Our prognosticating was not bad. Yes, let's pat ourselves on the back. We're great. We're very narcissistic. We're just terrific. Yeah. Yeah, everybody loves us. So yeah, no, that was we did pretty good. I mean, it's those things are never easy, and you can look at polls and whatnot, and I don't know. Do you feel that the polling was better than it was in the recent elections, or
the same people are trustworthy? Trafalgar, Atlas Intel, Rasmussen. You like it or don't like it, but whatever they tell you is probably what's going to happen.
So, I mean, I know you watch a lot of these things. On the electoral vote, do you know off the top of your head who's going to be the most accurate on calling that?
Who's going to end up as the most accurate pollster of this cycle?
Yeah.
I think it's between Rasmussen and Trafalgar right now.
Okay.
I think that Atlas Intel undersold the Republican advantages a little bit.
I think Atlas had it at 292 at one point.
Yeah,
right?
They had the margins they had were smaller.
So yeah, once again, polling. I say it's not easy because it's just a different ball game than it used to be, and so
right. And it is entirely possible, and was for a lot of this election, to conduct a poll one day and get Trump +2, and conduct the same poll and the same thing the next day and get Harris +2.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, I didn't look at it. Maybe you did. What was the margin in Iowa? Do you know?
10, 9 or 10.
So you mean the Seltzer shock poll wasn't right?
It wasn't even close to right. Yeah, I mean, didn't and like missed. She missed. It wasn't just that their margin is off. She missed. She picked up this groundswell of women who were going to come out to vote against the Iowa 6-week abortion ban, and we will not go back and all that, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, the thing is so yeah, she puts out that poll, and then all these people dive in it, and they're like, oh my gosh, Iowa might be in play, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think it doesn't. There's nothing that I can say that would do this. I mean, this is one poll, that shows this, and I can't imagine that a state that Trump has easily won, Republicans normally win, would all of a sudden switch to Harris. Like that at the last minute kind of a thing like that. So, yeah, I was yeah, I didn't know how far off she was really going to be, but it just seemed like that was just a really bad poll that goes there. Um, I think you alluded to this a little bit at the beginning. So liberals, there we go, 14 points.
14. Wow.
That was a biggie. That makes her miss huge. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's
That's
really embarrassing.
embarrassing. It's 17 points
Yeah.
off. Good
Yeah.
job, man.
Yeah. Maybe those that revere her so much will think that next second.
That's right. The other thing is like that raises a good point. Do we revere her anymore after that? It does seem like she changed the result to please the public. Maybe she didn't, but it sure does. The timing of that sure is curious. Do we, what happens to trust in the media, right? Already has taken a hit. Now, according to Bezos, less popular than Congress, which ain't easy to do. So what do they do? What does media do? Because the franchise of media that seems to work right now is tell the freaking truth, right? Don't censor people. I mean, that's why like the top media source in the world right now, and it's not really even close, is X. There's the Washington Post. All those guys they're looked as party organs, right? That's a Democrat paper. They act on behalf of Democrats, not their readers, not the general public, Democrats, right? So I think that's what Bezos looked at. What do they do about that? They can't make it anymore looking at like a Democrat paper. People don't want that. That's going to get rejected.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if I want to. Maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, she's right though. I mean, actually, this is part of the problem too. Is that social media, things like TikTok and things like that, have a heavy influence on how people think, how people will vote, what people will do. I mean, definitely about how what kind of stuff people will buy and whatever too.
Right.
And so, it is just, it's amazing, like that. So, there's a huge following, in social media to those things about because they figure it's like, well, you probably don't have an expert or you can figure this out, and people do things. You always have to take things with a grain of salt. I mean, I was watching a video the title caught my eye about Elon Musk in visiting a McDonald's and all this stuff. So I watched this video. It was about 15 minutes long, and then I Googled and I was trying to find out whether or not there was a story attached to that. Couldn't find anything on there. But then there was another video of Trump, going to McDonald's. It's like, oh, look, Trump is actually at the same McDonald's and interacting with the same cashier. I wonder which video was doctored. It was in East Palestine, Ohio, right?
Right.
I thought something was funky with the video because they had blurred out kind of somebody wearing the MAGA hat. And Trump wears that hat, and he's in there McDonald's and he's handing out the MAGA hats, and I'm like, yeah, somebody. And the video was weird. The Musk video was weird because it never had a live shot of Musk in the McDonald's. There were always still shots, right?
Yeah.
So they basically put Musk in there and saying, try to run a story narrative about what he was doing there, but it never showed him actually physically interacting with people. And it's like, yeah, somebody took the Trump video and decided to put Musk in there with still shots and created a whole narrative. I mean, the same result in the end. I mean, it's for the same side, but it was just like, okay, it's like, why do you do that? But the media, as you talk about it, is that what did we see over the last week or two? Oh, Harris is gaining some momentum.
Yeah.
Trump is tired. He's looking tired. Yeah. He's exhausted. My wife, her comment about this is that I'm amazed at this guy and his energy at his age. How many of these rallies does he do back to back? Where does he? He's all over the place. It doesn't look like Trump has slowed down a bit since the time he started campaigning. back in, what was it, 2015 or thereabouts, originally when he started running, kind of laying the groundwork for things like that. So this is a guy who he just pushes, 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 and the Democrats can't keep up with him. Harris does a few things. There's no,
Yeah,
Biden's
he
still in the race.
outworked her. She's supposed to be the young candidate, next generation leaders. She turned 60 on like October 20th or something. So she's just now 60. And, he ran circles around her. She had to take days off to rest. He didn't take no days off to rest.
Yeah, right.
You
Right. I
got
mean, right.
nostalgic at the end because this is the last of the rallies, right? The rallies are done.
Yeah, right. He just pounded away, and her everything that she was doing was kind of carefully orchestrated. I don't know how much credence there is behind this the cell phone pinging identification thing that this one guy was doing, where they had her in Pennsylvania, but the guy who was doing it said that the people who owned those cell phones were from California and from Georgia and
So the
things like
one
that.
here, these I'll go out. You have 75,000 people. It could have been more than that, maybe 100,000. They come around and they say 30 of them from Atlanta and 6,000 from California. Okay, so I mean, those are, if you say, okay, there's some from Atlanta, Richmond, Raleigh, all the way up 95 or 85 or whatever. Okay, I get it. They got, people wrote, this was their opportunity to be at this. They drove a historic event, right? But if you're talking about only Atlanta and only California, not any of those states in between. And there's a fair few between here and California, but only Atlanta and only California gave you more of your crowd. It means you were moving your crowd around with the candidate. And at some point, people are going to say, what the heck happened to the $1 billion you raised? Right? That's the answer. At the end of the campaign, they were broke, right? They don't have any money.
Yeah, no, I mean that was the other thing too. Is that right? I mean, how much media coverage did she get for all the money that came in? Right after she became the official nominee, after the debate, all those things, like, oh yeah, the money's just rolling in. She's out raising Trump by a wide margin,
3, 4 to 5 to 1. I mean, just huge margins.
Right, and what did that get him?
They got him nothing because they what this thing is, it really was an old versus new election, and the 78-year-old guy represented new, right? He had all these dynamic thinkers around him. He has, he's talking about going back to space. He's talking about, using our energy assets. He's talking about a new way of approaching the world so we don't have these same wars and rivalries and stuff, right? She is talking about, we're going to set up a housing program and a housing incentive program, right? And these are things that people, these words have been hitting their ears now for 60 years, and they haven't seen any result of it, right? They haven't seen, my life got a lot better because, there were 3 government programs that were enacted by the Democrat president and his friends in Congress, right? They argue using old tools in a new argument, and they paid the price.
We did talk about Musk already a little bit, but I do want to ask a more direct question in terms of how much of an effect did Elon Musk have on the election in terms of support? How his support of Trump, I mean, how much did that help?
Musk, I think it gave a permission structure to a lot of people who were legitimately on the fence. Yeah, so, can I tell you how many? No, but I get the feeling that a lot of people think, well, wow, all the smart people are on one side of this election.
Yeah, I mean, I think Musk, for as controversial as he can be within his own circle, people, there's always there's a lot of love-hate relationship on Musk for the things, with what he's done with Twitter and all these kinds of things, and people can argue about that all day long. But I think, to me, it's like, yeah, once Musk got in the game and actually committed big money, and then others basically said, okay, it's okay to throw my hat in the ring too. In essence, is to go ahead and back this guy, because
Right.
we've got Musk, and we can do that. We can stand behind him, or or be in the shadows. But yeah, we got more of Silicon Valley coming to Trump's support now as a result of Musk. We just saw a lot of other things.
Ackman too, by the way.
Yeah,
So
right.
that gets doesn't get talked about as much, but people all over the country. There are people all over the country like you who follow investing real closely, right? So Ackman sent a signal to them, and that's a poly group of people politically, right? It's not a monolith at all politically. There's people, the stock people are all over the political. So, this was a guy from the other side of the political divide saying, "Have alarm fire. Do not go for her. Go for him." And Ackman's endorsement is more a warning against her than it is a bragging on Trump.
Yeah, and I think too, both campaigns, and this always happens, is that both campaigns trot out people, right, to speak, whether it's trying to find the mega stars or whatever, and they both trotted out a bunch of people. Though you'd say that I'd easily say that Trump's people are more represent America and real America than what Harris was going with the Hollywood and all the kind of elites and stuff like that. And I know you
I literally heard somebody in there like, I don't understand. She had Beyonce and Taylor Swift. And no one cares who they vote for.
And as you had pointed out, which has happened before, is that those people come out and they see those stars, and then a lot of times they leave because that's all they want to do is they want to see and hear them. That does not happen at a Trump rally, right?
Right.
He can bring in these people, whether or not it's the Dana Whites or whoever, from all over, all these people from all walks of life that have made fame and fortune in different industries and whatnot. He can bring them out there, and people are still sticking around.
Yeah.
Because
they're guests, right? They're not the main attraction.
Right.
And everyone knows that. Like, with her, it's like, hey, a Beyonce concert and Kamala's there,
Yeah. It's like, Beyonce is the top, the undercard is Kamala.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can't be the undercard at your own event.
And that's basically what happens. Is that in the I don't know. I mean, the Democrats will have their own autopsy, I guess, about this. We're definitely seeing a lot of liberals just throwing, just really upset.
They're fuming today.
Yeah, they're fuming. They're fuming at the Democrat Party. They're fuming at Harris. They're fuming at Trump supporters and people who voted for Trump. They're leaving no stone unturned. It's racism, it's sexism, you name it. It's
disappointed in the American people.
Yeah,
screw you, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean, these are the same people who are, when the Democrats have won the presidency, have been like, thank you, America, for voting for Barack Obama and Joe Biden and everything like this. They vote for Donald Trump, and it's like, oh no. Like you
y'all
said,
messed up.
Yeah, you're racist, you're misogynistic, you're whatever. It's all wrong. I was going to say too, your point about what Trump is doing by talking about space and all these other issues, I think that was also very helpful because, we knew that, as Charlton pointed out too, that we had the economy and immigration are definitely top subjects, but he got into some other subjects that were a little bit different, do kind of attract some of the fancy. I mean, Musk, that's also feeds into Musk, right? I mean, you talk about space and Mars and things like, this is great. This is great for Musk because Musk has become the guy to go to. You want space exploration or whatever?
Right.
His company is doing it.
And they're talking about pulling his contracts and his security clearance. I'm like, you have no space program right now without Musk. You kick him out, we're done with the space program. Because Boeing, they can't even bring the people home that they send out there.
Yeah. So I mean, there's almost nothing that almost everything he does really works out very well. He knows how to kind of work the system and do these different things. But his
Nobody's ever
people.
been better at rounding up subsidies than that dude.
Oh yeah,
Nobody.
absolutely, and that fine. I mean, they're out there. Go ahead and do that. But it's not just the subsidies; it's the fact that they're innovative. His companies are very innovative in what they do, and bring some things
Right.
that people thought would never come to pass. I mean, I was I was as skeptical as the average person probably was about space exploration. I thought we were long gone from doing that. Having grown up with with the space race, with the Soviet Union, and all the other kinds of things. I thought we were done. We weren't going to get any more manned missions anywhere and do all this. And we've got the space station and we had that, but I didn't know that we were going to do a whole lot more beyond that. Musk is taking those other steps. It's like we can do this and we can provide the government opportunities to go back to places, and do this in a more cost efficient manner. It's not
Yeah.
cheap, but it's cheaper than the government can do it.
Yeah, right. We've made the decision to do it. So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of lining up the best deal.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. So I think we're in really good shape for that. Okay, well, we've definitely talked about a lot of things here today. We're running low on time. Uh, why don't you just go ahead and give your final comments and thoughts, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Let's see if there's anything on here that we wanted to. Kelly Ayotte won. George Gascon lost. George Gascon was the prosecutor in Los Angeles. A Soros acolyte. The Soros people got clobbered. They got their candidates clobbered. Right. There was a big reason that Harris lost is that the public safety issues in Pennsylvania. Right. I mean, in public safety issues in those blue wall states where they let in those immigrants and defunded police and brought a lot of increase in serious violent crime. That was another thing. They lied about crime. Well, crime's down. No, crime's up, right? We all know it's up. So now you have a deal where you not only don't trust media entities at all, right? You really can't trust government, right? Because the government put out the exact reports they needed to put out to further Democrat political interest, right? So if government is a Democrat political player, right, then you can't, you have to take everything government says with a politically informed grain of salt. So, I mean, there's a lot to do to rebuild trust in government between people in their government. And the Democrats have some serious soul searching to do.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I assume most of everybody who's watching or will be watching that you were supporting Trump and not the other side. But nevertheless, I'll say this before I close: is that Kamala Harris did run a historic campaign as the first Black woman to run for president. I don't know
a lot of stuff real quick.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for her, but 2028 will be an interesting year. We've got 4 years before we have that race going on there, and we've got the midterms coming up in between. So we still have a lot more work to do now, and we'll just see what happens here, and the inauguration should be quite an event. In any regard, thanks again for joining us. Please stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. And let me see if I can adjust my camera just so we can get a shot of Trump and Reagan.
There it is.
And that's it, folks. Thanks a lot. We will see you again next week.